how I discovered Orthodoxy was on, Instagram and the Explore page. One day I just started getting some Instagram reels about, what I didn't know was Orthodoxy at the time. I just thought it was like some version of Catholicism or something like that. And what really stuck out for me was a certain Father Spiridon Bailey, who had lots of videos that I would watch, and they would come up on my feed. And there was one particular video where he was talking about the Jesus prayer with the rosary, the Komboskini, I think, yeah. And so that was what sort of grabbed my attention the most, because I enjoy like knots, very decorative knots. So when I was in Scouts, I used to do lots of knots and stuff like that. So when I saw the rosary and the knot that it had, I was very interested in that, and I started doing more research on that knot in particular, and I found out that there's a whole long history to the knot and everything. But in doing all this research, I had to keep coming back to Father Spiridon's Instagram page to find the videos, and then one thing leads to another. Start doing research. What is Orthodoxy? How is it different from the Catholic Church? And in the West, we're very ignorant. We don't know about Orthodoxy, and so we started doing research. Luckily, Anastasia was in the same wavelength. So when I started explaining to her, she said, "Oh yes, that sounds great." And it was everything essentially that we wanted without the stuff that we didn't like, let's say, like in Catholicism. So we are avid readers. So when we sort of get involved in a new subject, we try and find a book to read. And that's when we found the Orthodox Church by Timothy Ware. And we started reading that book, and that was very enlightening, a very in-depth overview of Orthodoxy in general. But we still weren't going to services, we still weren't participating in the community, and we still felt like we needed to, but we weren't doing anything about it. And then at some point we Googled on Google Maps, just typed Orthodox Church, and closest one to our location was the Serbian Orthodox Church, St. Thomas in Johannesburg, Sunning Hill. And we that's not that far. Let's just one Sunday we drove past it, but we were too scared to go in. So we just drove right past it, and then it happened for like a couple of weeks. We just kept driving past the church. And then one Saturday, for example, we actually pulled into the driveway, but the church was closed, and we couldn't enter, so we started ringing the bell. There was a bell that just said, "Ring for priest," and we were ringing the bell, but nothing was, I think it was broken because of, in South Africa we have load shedding and messes with electronics, but yeah. And then eventually we got to the point in the book in Orthodox Church where Timothy Ware says, essentially, like, this is all theory, and as much as I can explain Orthodoxy in the book, the real experience for Orthodoxy is that you have to come and see, right? And so we're like, okay, we have to go, no matter what. Next Sunday, if the gates are open, we go. But obviously we were still scared, and we decided, okay, let's first find the priest's number, or let's find some number. But we couldn't find any information online, we couldn't find any information on the signs when we were driving past, so that's another week or two, let's say. And then eventually, somehow, after doing more research, I found Father Salo's number on Facebook, on one of his Instagram, Facebook posts, and we called him, and we said, "Hi, we Protestants, we're thinking about joining the Orthodox faith. We just want to ask you some questions." And he said, "Better that you just come and see," And so we're like, "Wow, okay." So then that was on a Saturday that we called him. Sunday was a service the next day, so we just decided, okay, we'll come and see. And that Saturday night, we finished the book, Orthodox Church, like just before we went to bed. And then Sunday we went to church. And that's the beginning of our Orthodox journey. We came to the church, Father Salo was there, we had service, we even stayed for the morning prayers. And afterwards we were used to our Protestant behavior, so we were planning to just run away after service, and then Father said no, one of the parishioners at the church, Michalo, said take them to coffee and lunch.